Welcome to Blind Abilities. I'm Jeff Thompson. Louis Braille's birthday is today, so we're going to release a podcast on Braille. This one comes from Jo Fishwick. This is a conversation we had back on the Audio Boom days with the Blind Abilities channel. Jo submitted this in response to a post that I put out there. I shared stories like when I first started my adjustment to blindness training, some girls put a note on my locker, and I learned how to read Braille because girls were writing me notes, and then I had to respond back to them, so I quickly learned Braille. I also mentioned how my first book showed up on my door one time and boxes upon boxes showed up, and Jo responded with her enthusiasm for Braille. So, without further ado, I'd like to share with you a conversation on Braille from Jo Fishwick, an advocate and enthusiast for Braille.
Hi everyone, it's Jo. It's ages since I have been on Blind Abilities, but I have been listening to you all. I wanted to come in on the topic of Braille. For those who know me on a personal level, you will know that I am a real advocate of Braille. I run a Braille support group on Facebook, and if people think that Braille is a dying art form, it certainly isn't. The Braille support group has over 300 members at the moment, which is fantastic. All different ages, all different abilities. Some Braille tutors who are there to advise. Some people who've been doing Braille for too many years to mention, a bit like myself. But I love Braille. I learnt Braille when I was 12. My eyesight was deteriorating and I had to change schools to go from a school for partially sighted children to a school that could cater for blind children as well as. I learnt my long cane training there and also learnt Braille. I had a fantastic Braille teacher. I think it helped. There were two of us learning Braille at the same time, so we used to have little competitions. Who could do this the fastest, who could read that the fastest, and who could write this paragraph the fastest, and that really helped because it made us more enthusiastic about it. But I'm a real bookworm. Absolutely love reading, and although now my choice is probably more leaning towards audiobooks, I do still get things like bank statements, newsletters from guide dogs in Braille, and it forces you to kind of keep your hand in at it, and I think that's really important. I have a Perkins Brailler, which is the old style, lump of metal. You don't want to smash your knees with it. In the bedroom, and that is really useful for labelling. You can get big sheets of the labels, and you can do your labels whatever size you want then, and then just cut them out or get someone else to help you cut them out. You can also get small labels that are ready cut, just probably a couple of inches by a couple of inches. They're great for if you want a bit more information on something. But I do love Braille. I can remember when I went to college, I was 16 and my local education authority bought me the little Oxford dictionary, and it was in 16 volumes of Braille. Wow. And like Jeff said, it arrives and you're thinking, wow, who's moving in? You do, it is that big. But it was so useful because to see, I'm going to use the word see, to see the words written down is much easier than listening to it, because you need to be able to spell those words and to have your fingers on the Braille rather than having to flick through each letter, on a computer screen. And, back when I was 16, computers were not as good as they are today. We certainly didn't have all our Apple products or anything. So Braille was a must. I did all my work in Braille through school and college and beyond. When I went to mainstream college to study complementary medicine, they used to help me take notes in the lectures, if it was off the board and things that were visual, and then they would get it put into Braille for me. And I still have some of those notes now. I've still got things to do with massage and things like that. To me, Braille is invaluable. One thing I would say is, if you are interested in learning Braille and you want a little bit of help, feel free to join the Braille support group. That is how you would search for it on Facebook, and we do have a lot of people who would be happy to be pen pals. That was something that we set up on Audioboo a couple of years ago. There were a few of us that noticed a lot of people were still trying to learn Braille, so we decided that we'd set up the Braille support group on Facebook, but also we'd offer that if somebody wanted a pen pal, that people would be happy to write to them in Braille, write them a brief letter so they could practice. And it's something, like Jeff said, you've actually got something interesting or something nice to have, which is great, because it gives you that incentive to carry on when you're feeling a bit, because we all have those moments when you're learning Braille. Like anything, you're thinking, oh, it's so slow, or why can't I do this, or this isn't. So just having that pen pal maybe find somebody with similar interests to you, pair up with somebody like that. I think the pen pal scheme could really help. But if you are learning Braille, I wish you the best of luck. It is worth the effort, I think. I think every child who is blind or doesn't have enough sight to read print should learn Braille, because I think literacy is so important. I know I am really enthusiastic about it, but I do think the same as a sighted child learns to read and write, then visually impaired children should have the same right and the same ability. So thanks for raising the topic, Jeff. I think it's a great one, and I don't think Braille should die out. I think we should all keep it going. Even if you're not going to read the Braille books, if you prefer audio, but if you're going to label, or you're going to receive letters or the occasional newsletter or catalogues, some catalogues I get, guide dogs over here in England do at Christmas, they do a dog-a-log, and you can order Christmas cards or presents or whatever, and it's good to get some things like that. Choose a couple of things that you still get in Braille and it keeps your hand in. But I wish you the best of luck if you're learning, and long live Braille. I will speak to you all soon. Take care. Bye.
She's such a great advocate and enthusiast for Braille. And if you want to learn more about Jo Fishwick, you can check her out on a podcast that we did just last fall. And you can find a link in the show notes, along with the Braille support group on Facebook. We got a link for that too. I'd like to thank Chichow for his beautiful music. That's El Chichow on Twitter. I want to thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed. And until next time, bye-bye.
When we share
what we see through
each other's eyes, we can then begin to bridge the gap between
the limited expectations and the realities of blind abilities.
The realities of blind abilities.
For more podcasts with a blindness perspective, check us out on the web at www.blindabilities.com, on Twitter at blindabilities. Download our app from the App Store, blindabilities, that's 2 words, or send us an email at info@blindabilities.com. Thanks for listening.